Yeah, right? Okay.
Let's move that
Yeah,
bad
there
boy
we
back.
go.
Better.
Felt like we was on one of those
Better. All right.
hello, hello.
Hello, folks. We're live. And yes, I have a guest, Mario Cooks, joining me today in the studio,
The
in the
studio.
office. Yes. Um, Not a long agenda, but I do have some things that are not actually parliament related that I wanna kind of get into. But yeah, just to catch up, as you know, we didn't really have meetings because we had Presidium MPs that were in Paraguay, and this last week we had others that were also traveling for Parlatino. So by today, I think everyone should be back. Today or Monday, everyone should be back on island. So this week we will have some meetings, but in my not even downtime really because the work kind of never stops. I tried to work at different spots, but I found myself working at Van Dorp Spaces actually,
It's a nice place.
because GB kept going, and I don't have a generator at home, so I went where there was a generator, and basically got a lot of work and reading done there. So that was also a good, because now I find myself in a position where IPCO is coming up, and I'm actually de facto chair of the Committee for Kingdom Relations. So there's a lot more that I have to absorb. But what I did do was try to help get some cute critters adopted.
Mm.
First, we were stopping off at the Island Vet, where we play with kittens. They were kittens, let's say tuxedo cats.
Yes.
But actually, what they say is that in a litter where there's a tuxedo cat, the printer is running out of ink. So you start off. Actually, there was four kittens from the same litter, one all black, and then the
Not
next
the
one
most ink.
after had like all the ink, and then the next one after had just the tuxedo cat typical look, black,
Patches,
etc.,
yeah.
patches and white, and then the other one a little more white than black, and then it was just a plain white cat.
Ran out of cyan.
And I was like, he ran out of cyan indeed, because that's always the ink. Why is it always cyan? That's always the ink that runs out.
Yeah.
But no, that was really cool, and you can adopt there the Island Vet. Mostly kittens are popping up, but also dogs. So then Friday, I went to the SXM Paws event, where it was a fundraiser, but also there were adorable puppies there that you could have just picked up and adopted on the spot. And most of the time, whether it's Island Vet or the Animal Hospital or the Swanston's Clinic in Cahill, most of them will have a deal where if you adopt, your adoption fee includes future neutering or spaying
Spain, yeah.
of the animal that
Basically
you
healthcare.
adopted,
For it,
basically.
yeah.
So basically healthcare and your two first vaccinations.
Oh, nice.
So I would urge everyone, you can check out all their Facebook pages and all the info on how to adopt an adorable little critter of your own is there. I didn't take one because I already have a cat, a tuxedo cat, Cassian, as those who may follow me on Instagram will know. And he is a handful. So if you are adopting a tuxedo cat or an orange cat, beware, because the energy levels are like Jack Russell style. I'm not gonna lie, it's crazy sauce. It's crazy sauce. But they do bring a lot of joy. They're also very good for stress.
Mhm.
A kitten sits in your lap and you're like, oh my gosh, the day is better.
The fur in your lap.
There they do. Because you had
Yes.
Cassian
Yeah.
when he was
I
just
was one of the first.
a baby. But upcoming meetings this week are actually tomorrow we have the third or fourth time that we're trying to examine and approve the credentials of incoming members of parliament, Viren Kotai and Richnel Bruch. I am hoping that we will have quorum for that meeting tomorrow. So it's at 9 a.m. So tune in so that you can watch it. And then on Tuesday we also have something else on Monday. It is a closed door meeting, but it is the meeting to discuss closed door meeting to discuss IPCO preparations. So as you know, usually twice a year, the faction leaders of parliament travel for the IPCO conference. It's the Inter-Parliamentary Kingdom, in Dutch it's Interparlementaire Koninkrijks Overleg.
Right.
It is just all four parliaments of the kingdom coming together to discuss, issues that impact all of us. Of course, high on the agenda is climate change, and there's some other bits that I will share. And I'm also trying to find a time that works for the Netherlands with the time difference, where I can still do the live stream even though I'm not here, so that you guys can hear that. We also have a closed door meeting on the draft code of conduct, which is something that I was working on when I was originally chairperson of the Ad Hoc Committee for Integrity of Parliament. I got the draft as far as to Central Committee, and then it got kicked back down to the committee level because MPs wanted to see it be a little more local minded, which it already kind of was. I had borrowed from Trinidad and I had borrowed from St. Kitts their acts on public conduct and ethics for public office holders. But nevertheless, Youth Parliament actually helped me put together the draft that is now with Parliament. So I've also told them that it is going to be a closed door, so they can't attend, but that I still try to keep them updated with the discussions on that particular draft. And then we have a final closed door meeting. And interestingly enough, I'm chairing all these meetings.
All right.
Interestingly enough, yeah, so we have one last meeting on electoral reform. Now, part of the new discussion on electoral reform is now a screening law to kind of properly outline what, is a screening for candidate ministers, to embed it in a national ordinance. Essentially, I saw that the Prime Minister had sent a request to Yezet and Way, which is legal affairs, to get some advice on where it could land a screening law in an existing organ or in a new one. My opinion and our opinion as PFP has always been that it has to be a new national ordinance that is very clear, that does not require too much additional changes, because if you use the one from Curacao, you essentially have to change our constitution, because Curacao says that if you have a pre-existing conviction on your record, you cannot be a candidate minister. Well, our laws do not say that.
Nope.
Our laws do not say that a conviction hampers you from becoming a minister, because essentially it's viewed as a conviction. It's already happened. Yeah, let's move on. So you're not in prison, so you should be able to be a minister. What our law and our constitution does say is that if you're convicted while you're a minister with a 1-year punishment, then the intention or the assumption is that you resign. Mm-hmm. So that is going to be part of the discussion in that electoral reform committee. And we'll see how that goes. Of course, it's closed doors, so the public cannot tune in. But once there's nothing really confidential discussed or so, I'll be able to update in the next live stream how that went. And then that brings us then to VRAMI, because people are asking, what's going on in VRAMI, what is the plan in VRAMI, etc. And you also put out a bit about, painting the roads and such. And I think, people were a bit curious, but I think people, should understand where it came from, because you told me yourself, like
what happened.
I mean, and I myself coming to you to visit you in Cahill.
It's like dodgeball.
It's like
dodge.
It's like dodge. You can dodge a wrench, you can dodge a car.
That's
but yeah, so I'm gonna just let you explain a bit about.
Yeah, so I guess it was about road safety and lines. The reason that what actually prompted that press release, that commentary to the editor, was the fact that last week I was driving headed on Welker-Lakin Road towards the intersection of AGC Broward Road, and I wanted to make a left onto AGC Broward Road to go towards Cold Bay. On my way out of Welker-Lakin Road, I'm making my way to the filter lane, which is supposed to be there to make the left. Somebody from AGC Broward Road coming from 0 to 14 kids just cut through. And if anybody is driving onto the hospital road, I'm pretty sure many are familiar, maybe some have done it.
Yeah.
Unwillingly, without knowing, they would cut right through the turning lane and right into the oncoming traffic that is supposed to make that left. That person literally stopped. When I mean, if I would have stood out, my elbow and my fist, this distance was too much. It was literally less than a foot away from a head-on collision. And my daughter was in the car.
Yeah.
And the worst part about it is that the person driving the car in front of me, instead of, saying, oh, or realizing this is not the point of ingress for this road, they literally just stood there like as if I was in the wrong for being in the filter lane and gave me attitude. Me, I just laughed because I live here and I know the point of ingress is where people make that right off of AGC Broward Road onto it. So if that's where the main traffic is coming in, when you're coming from the left also has to come in from the same point. For many of those that might not understand what ingress is, it's an in point, an entrance. So that's literally where the press release was. I got some messages after, think, oh, but you're on the party, this and that. Guys, I have to be very clear. In no point in time was I ever how should I say, pointing a finger at Brahmi or saying, "Oh, you're not doing work." These guys just moved in. Like this guy, Brahmi just moved in. It was literally more of an awareness thing to get people in the community to understand that, hey, that is not where you turn in on that road, and also kind of just giving a prep to understand that, hey, this might be one of the areas that you want to touch in the future because it is a hazard. I've literally seen even the ambulance have to avoid vehicles that are trying to cut through there.
And you know, I think it there's also the question of because people talk about lines, you talked about the lines, but I feel like we kind of know, you know, that that's not
the turn. Yeah.
The turn.
Yeah.
And it takes me back to, and it's not remotely comparable, but in the sense of like personal responsibility is when I worked at UTS, we would have people who would not pay their bill for like 3 months because they didn't get an invoice. But you had internet.
Like what?
So for me, it's kind of like, all right, you know, yes, the system had a glitch. You didn't get the automatic emailed invoice, but you were online.
You're online.
We can see that you were online.
You're using data.
So for me, it's kind of like, you know, when I drive there, and I don't know, I would, if it was visitors making those errors, I would quicker have patience with them if it were tourists, because you don't know. But we've all kind of, we kind of grew up knowing. And even if you were just born 18 years ago, you've observed your parents driving enough to know that
that's not the turn.
It's not a turning lane.
I mean, the way people turn there, they can see that that's not the turn because they speed up.
Yeah.
Because they know it's not the turn.
Exactly.
It's not the turn.
Exactly.
But yeah, so that's where the spirit of that came from, and it was basically just to kind of give awareness, also for persons to understand, because it was a dangerous situation. It's a very dangerous situation.
Yeah, no, I agree, and it's it is unfortunate, but beyond that.
Yeah, beyond that, it's you know, time. Like I said, the good old guys and girls at Brahmi are doing their best. We know that they're getting themselves together, and I expect very much so. Of course, we know there's that situation with the sinkhole. So of course, there are things that are prioritized, but that doesn't mean that you can't.
I had this on the notes for later, but actually, you know, we have the acting minister of Brahmi currently, Veronica Janssen, who Webster, and you know, I have asked that at least an update be provided because I saw they put the
metal sheet,
the sheet there, but of course that's not a solution. So it's really to see what, you know, could be the and not even final solution, because you know, I think eventually our reliance on just quick fixes is gonna catch up to bite us in the butt.
You can only patch a tire so many times.
Yes, you can only patch things so many times, and I think so I have asked for that update, and I'll follow up, of course, this week to see if it pops out. But beyond that, I wanted to ask you, you know, as the other resident tech person in PFP, because now, because like I said, we didn't have much to talk about for Parliament, so we can talk about you know, everything else. How's cybersecurity?
Well, you know, with the advent of the release of AI has really changed how cybersecurity is done. And artificial intelligence, you know, we're not at Skynet yet. We're not Terminator mode yet. But where we are is that we have now persons who might have been interested in doing malicious things, having easier access to doing such.
And are you seeing that pop up? Because like you're IT coordinator for the public schools, so are you seeing that pop up in your job?
Yes, I am. I actually just recently had to stop a exfiltration attempt, which means somebody tried to come in and export a large amount of information all at once, and the way that you catch that usually is by setting up your policies properly. So you would configure some policies to kind of as gates. So think about cybersecurity as a layered thing.
Right.
So you would come in, and then much like a ship, if water is coming in, there'll be that big block door, and it will shut to make sure the rest of the place doesn't get flooded. Luckily, we did have our policies set at a strict level, and it was able to catch the attempt and stop it before. But this is just one of many. Just recently, Trinidad and Tobago we were talking about regionally communicating with other islands, and CARICOM themselves just worked with USAID to create a real strategy to come out for 2030. And the idea is that because AI is so easy and it's literally like a human programming language, any script kiddie, a script kiddie is somebody who could be like they're not professional tech people, they're not coders, but they're interested in doing things. And they can just go on AI and type, how do I, breach so and so. Some AI have protections against these things, but if you are looking for it in an educational way, penetration testing, people will find ways to get that. And that has actually helped increase the amount of hacks in the Caribbean. Actually, since 2020, there has been a very big uptick. 2022, the Dominican Republic did a big bust where they took, I think they stopped $480 million worth of fraud. Also on WhatsApp, Brazil just recently did a big bust where they also stopped over $500 million plus 10,000 people that were committing fraud on WhatsApp using there's this link that was sent out through WhatsApp. It's kind of like what's that called? Where you put a pan of hand, you put money in it, and so on. But it was a scam. So I always tell people, if it sounds too good to be true,
it probably is, guys.
And it did not ask for somebody from Nigeria to send you something, or you didn't play a lottery in Jamaica or anywhere else in the world, don't go and click on those links. At work too, we do have trainings that we do. I personally do how do we call it? Fake hacks. We send out fake phishing messages, and because we train all of the teachers and the staff on how to identify these things and how to report them. So far, we've been doing really well since the first one. And so far we're good. But we do have to keep our eyes open. The threats that are out there are persistent, and they're no joke.
And evolving.
And they're evolving.
And I think, that we could have a whole discussion episode on just that alone. And maybe in the future, like during recess, it would be an idea to do that, or maybe do a little stream, because
it'd be great to do a little.
I can finally play GTA Online again.
Oh, welcome! And now I'm off.
just had to announce that, so we could just do that and discuss it in a stream. But just to get back to Mannotes, so that little segue aside, we are MP West Scott Williams, said in the Herald this week, she hopes that Representatives Coalition can sit down and explain to the people what are some of the current issues that they aim to address. And actually, I have mentioned that we need to start really looking at what has been done from the government side in terms of cybersecurity, because there's still the ongoing GB situation.
And not to cut you off, but we really cannot sit back and play with it, because honestly speaking, we are already a target. We've already been breached more than once.
Exactly.
And that does not, maybe for persons that are not attuned to what happens with that, but once you are breached in the hacking community, you're sitting duck.
It's open season.
Yeah, it's open season. People will use your previous breach as a clout chaser to say
testing ground, basically. So so that is one of the topics to discuss, and we've she has stressed this to the current government to come out and share those plans. But because the Netherlands put out their hoofdlijnen for their new government formation, and from our side, we've encouraged that is shared with the public, just to kind of be clear on what the priority points are. But what I do know and I can share is that the time now is being used firstly for onboarding, which I think is a good process to have, to get people up to speed with how government functions if they don't know, but also as a time of assessment. I think there was a point in time where, especially like other MPs were saying, can we even believe the information that's coming from this outgoing government? And I took everything with a 2 grains of salt, actually. So now it's to really assess, especially based on the very extravagant claims of how well off we were left, and such, as the curtain fell on that term. I think for me, I've encouraged, the ministers that have just sat to actually begin just making an assessment, see where you're actually at, and share that with the public, and tell them the truth, because until you tell the public the truth, nothing is going to move forward. And I think it's really important for us to remember that.
And the idea behind it, I'm glad you guys are doing that, because the idea behind that is, with assessments and seeing where you're really at and where you stand, that's how you can become preventative. Because people ask, how would you stop a cyber threat from happening. And the idea is that really and truly, you can never truly stop a cyber a breach from happening, or an attempt from happening, I should say, but you can be preventative. And if you properly protect yourself, of course, you might not be able to cover all of your points of ingress, but what you can do is cover enough of those doors and windows to make sure that the easy ways in
are closed up.
And closed up. And we ourselves have been kind of roaming around in this digital island thinking that, oh, we're small, nobody's really gonna mess with us, there's nothing here, we don't have big oil companies.
No, but I mean, this is where you cut your teeth,
and that's exactly
this is practice zone. This is the lobby before you get to
you get free ammo
to the war zone.
So it's very good for not only learning government processes, but also that the onboarding includes some kind of awareness on how to identify threats.
Yes.
Because the biggest vulnerability in any organization is the person or the people that are working.
Cool facts. So to bebop over now to some regional news. Regional travel, we got a little boost. Suriname Airways announced interline partnership with Winair. So what that means is that first of all, Suriname Airways gets to expand its network in the region and provide customers with more travel options to the Caribbean, to the Dutch Antilles, South America, and Europe. And it also allows same-day connections to islands beyond St. Martin, like Antigua, Dominica. So again, something to reinforce our hub function with the emphasis on regional travel, which is, as most who have tuned in before know, that I'm very passionate about. We don't have it on the agenda for IPCO this time, I saw, but that's understandable because we just got an update from the Dutch Caribbean Airport Association that basically is working on how we can help improve travel within the kingdom in the Caribbean region. So I'm hoping that by the end of the year, by the time we get ready for IPCO Spring 2025, we'll have a concrete update to get from them. And then something that we don't necessarily deal with, because actually we generate too much water, is water crises are becoming a growing problem across several Caribbean islands. So I'm sure we've all felt the heat. It's been and between the heat and the Mickey Mouse affair that happened down at GB.
Master Splinter got us off.
Yeah, with Master Splinter biting through cables. I think we've all kind of felt it, but thankfully we're not at the point where we're experiencing a water crisis. So goodness. You have water scarcity that's actually becoming a problem, especially with maybe the rainfall has not been up to what it has to be. I'm thinking of islands like Antigua that rely on a cistern system to be able to get water in their homes. But like Trinidad is experiencing its worst drought. You could get a fine if you overuse. So it's like California when you tell you don't sprinkle your lawn.
Don't do it.
In Miami, I remember in the summers used to be like, don't water your lawn. Okay. You can get a fine in Dominica as well, which is literally the nature island. You have a significant decrease in freshwater resources and increasingly frequent water shortages. Grenada. Drought is affecting water systems. Jamaica is also facing water restrictions and has had to resort to water shutoffs. To a few hours per day, you have water availability. And in St. Vincent and St. Kitts, they're also rationing water, and Barbados as well. Several water bans in recent years.
San Pedro had a shut off of water for 5 days in the Dominican Republic. Yeah.
That's wild to me. That's wild. And I think I spoke about it last time, but you had Cuba last week or the week before announced that they have to import sugar because their sugar harvest is below par. So for their rum industry, they have to import sugar to be able to import sugar. Yeah, it's pretty nuts. It's pretty
a global
nuts.
thing too, because I saw that Belize, Mexico, all of them are having some serious water crisis.
Well, it's definitely a regional thing, and I think it's a water stressed region already. The heat is not helping, and you have this. It's again the balance of rapid urbanization versus an industrialization versus how do we maintain the things that we've been doing? How do we maintain our natural resources? So essentially,
replenish, because that's the thing. Maintain is one thing, but we have to be able to know how we're going to replenish them.
Yep. And the development also impacts soil's ability to retain water, which impacts your ability to have your trees flourishing, etc. And all of this contributes to the heat that you're kind of experiencing. And I talked last time about some of the about projects for progress and some of the projects that we're going to be looking into, and I can share, briefly that one of them is definitely going to be a planting project, one that's been home garden focused, but also a tree planting project. You have mango trees in your yard. I have trees in my yard that are functional but also pretty, and all of this contributes to cooling down the space, because I'm not gonna lie, even when it's hot in my house, in my yard, it's not as hot as it is in town.
Oh no!
For example,
no. The concrete when see, the thing is, it absorbs it and then it gives it back to you, and you're just sitting in an oven. You're literally walking through an oven.
Exactly.
Yeah. I mean, shady spaces too. We need more outside spaces.
Yeah. And this note here on the water crisis, tourism itself is a very water intensive industry. So, the consumption is relatively high. Yesterday I actually went to what was it called? Hold on. I'm gonna look it up so I can get it properly. Sorry. Normally I have these things ready. So yeah, it was called Thoughts and Reflections from the Dynamic SSC 101 class of USM. Nice. So I was invited by Cassandra Richardson. She taught that class, and it was held at Axum. And essentially, students were presenting essays that they wrote on mass tourism. And one of them said, talking about the impact, so the impact on our labor market, the fact that low-wage jobs are the norm when it comes to mass tourism, to the tourism industry on a whole, but mostly in the Caribbean, because when you look at workers who work in hospitality or horeca in Europe, the minimum wage kind of helps them with the gap of what they would be earning in another industry. So they talked about that, and one of them presented an essay called "Tourism, Mass Tourism, is it a lifeline or a life sentence?" And I was like, yikes. And then I was there in my capacity as member of parliament, and Minister of TEAT, Grisha Helga Martin, was also there. And at a certain point in time, I looked at her and I was like, yo, you're just catching blows. Like, every time you come here, you are abused. But she took it in stride, and she took it well. And, because, at the end of the day, you just got there. But I think it was a lot, the information and what the students were saying was very useful. And I like the way that they presented it. And it goes back to, mass tourism depends on consuming resources, whether it's water, whether it's our food, electricity, etc. And all of these things kind of play a role in roads, and one of them asked, it was a very important question that was posed by one of the students in their essay and by someone who was there attending as well. And they said, can we stop thinking about growth and just focus on sustainability and maintenance? And I was like, that guy sounds like he listens to PFP.
Right. No, but it's good to hear that, the generation after us is that in tune and focused on the things that matter.
That was a good thing. This is not the generation after us.
Gosh.
These students are not kids. Some of them were, you could tell, like early 20s. But some are grown adults now continuing their education.
Oh, nice. So
getting their bachelors in social work, etc. I'm not going to pop names on the stream or so, but 2 were getting their bachelors in social work. Some already work in public service.
Oh, nice.
And essentially they were like, so it's good because that means you don't have to wait for that next generation. That people our age and older, because they were both older than me, are already there where they're like, guys, pause. Let's relax. But yes, and all of this, of course, is climate change kind of kicking our butts. And when you see the climate change leads to terrible hurricanes, which leads to more water shortages, which leads to more resource shortages. I was looking at some statistics. You had Hurricane Irma, extensive damage, and over 1/3 of Puerto Rico consumers lost service, whether it was water and electricity. And there are, to my knowledge, still some parts where it is either shoddy or it's completely off. And that is happening today. So, whenever I tell people, like, when people stress about the airport, it's been destroyed since Irma. Yes. But you know what we've had since Irma? Electricity and water.
Because there's
many places that still don't, especially in Puerto Rico.
And to think a place like Puerto Rico.
Yeah, exactly. And then in 2015, you had Tropical Storm Erica, and 2017 Hurricane Maria that did about $24 million in damage to Dominica's water supplies. And then, of course, the big bad in 2019, Hurricane Dorian, which was 54 million. And at Grand Bahama, it just wiped out pumping stations, water mains, the storage itself was badly. So all of this leads to, you know, us having to really rethink how we do hurricane prep, first of all, which we're ticking down to start official start to the season, because let's face it, it could start at any time.
There's already systems out there.
Yeah.
I mean, what do you want me to say?
No, there's not.
Mr. Weatherman was talking
not
about
the weather
coming off.
Can we go on National Hurricane Center and see what's what? Okay, no, nothing yet. Whew, I was about to fight you in this place. Really. But no, still, you know, be vigilant. I do check normally every day on the National Hurricane Center, which is nhc.noaa.gov. Windy is also a great app, although you could get obsessed with looking at Windy because you just see the spin
very pretty.
Of the storm. But yeah, it is happening, and we just have to be prepared. I don't say these things to make people panic. But definitely for them to be prepared.
No, it's a reality of it's one of our realities, and it's something that we should know that we have to do. You know, you have to coming up to hurricane season. You got to check your yard if you have one. Anything that's loose debris, anything like that, you get rid of it or lock it down. We have to get prepared, and every single meteorologist, every single person that is talking about climate is saying that we are in for a heck of a season. This season because of how hot everything is, and the waters of the sea is very hot. So, you know, I'm not wishing for anything to come our way. I'm hoping that it skips us.
But you know, preparation is literally the key to everything. And you know, I always, I don't know if you, but probably you do it, but like with my sister, we always kind of do like tabletop exercises, you know? You check your inventory, what do you have in canned goods, etc. All of that. I said to her today, when are we gonna do that? So probably this week we'll plan that and start getting what supplies we can. We always get a little extra as well, because if something does happen and, you know, a neighbor's home is damaged or so, you never know. You can help someone out by having some extra supplies if you can afford it.
Get your go bags ready.
Get your go bag ready. You know, someone once told me that they got seriously damaged in Lewis. They were a kid at the time, like we were, and the passports were gone with the wind. So I always think it's good to like tell people, you know, and we'll maybe do a special live stream to talk about when June hits, to talk about hurricane preparedness and what should be in your go bag.
And what go bag you can get.
And what go bag you can get.
It's really good for them to be waterproof.
Yeah.
That you put your stuff in there.
And we'll drop links in that one, I think, when we get when we have some, and then you can see where you can get that.
It'd be nice if they had some local stores that had them too. That we know.
I think probably Island Water World. Those types of bags are so it's just a bag and you can roll down the top, but it's completely waterproof. I have one for when I Captain for Nature Foundation, just in case.
Go overboard.
Yeah, in case I go overboard, or in case the bag goes overboard, that it would, you know, kind of bob on the top, and or you know, in case of whatever, and it will. I always have my hurricane go bag is not very much different from my I'm on a boat bag, to be honest. So maybe the sunscreen. But yeah, I think so. We'll probably do that and then drop some links on stuff that you should get and have.
I always encourage people to, you know, I know it's not like back in the day, but if you're close to anybody in your neighborhood, it's good to make a plan with your neighbors as well, just in case, because you never know. I know when I lived in town during Irma, I was very close to my neighbors.
Yeah, I remember.
When things were going off, they were able to communicate with me to ask how their roof was going. I was able, you know, to help them, tell them where to go. So, you know, have that type of camaraderie with your neighbors if you have one, and
as best you can.
Be prepared.
And the last point I wanted to touch on. So after very lengthy negotiations on Thursday morning, you know, in the Netherlands, 4 parties announced that they're going to form a new, very right-wing coalition government that includes the PVV, the VVD, the NSC, and the BBB, the Farmers Party. The coalition agreement focuses on some anti-asylum proposals, government reforms, some lower taxes, and dialing back environmental protections. Curious to, you know, this, and I will read the whole line in a bit better and see how this new parliamentary coalition could actually impact Sint Maarten, what this coalition in the Netherlands means for Sint Maarten. And, how best this government and this parliament that I'm in now can navigate that, because it's going to be difficult. Geopolitically speaking, there are many things happening. There is a U.S. election coming up in November as well that I'm very paranoid that the orange man will probably win again.
You heard that he wants to back out of the Paris Accord again.
Oh yeah, probably. But I mean, the Netherlands is no different actually, and so these are reasons why I always say, it's good for us to just look. You can look without, but you also have to look within. What can you change from a government perspective? Whether it's savings, whether it's cuts, whether it's making drastically different decisions to kind of protect ourselves, because the more governments elsewhere swing to the right, the less likely we are to get any type of assistance. Mia Mottley has been working hard for climate funds to be able to help Barbados and CARICOM countries combat, or at least make themselves more resilient to the realities of climate change. And yeah, it will definitely have some impact on how we can move forward as a country. So
we are a global country. We're a little island in the Caribbean, and nothing that happens outside affects us. Everything that happens outside affects us.
Most definitely. And so yeah, with that, I want to say, get your hurricane kit in order. Next live, I think I'm still here. Maybe I'll do that. Maybe next live all about hurricane. Yeah, we could do that.
Yeah.
The next live we'll talk a bit more about what should be in your go bag. Talk a bit about when last we were here. Because I think it's been 7 years since Irma. It was going to be 7 years since Irma, and I think what happened before Irma should not happen again, which is we get to a sense of we're
good. Ain't nothing coming this week. We all right. And then next thing we know,
I remember the Tuesday morning, September 5th, 2017, because my birthday was a Monday. So I'm in Sunny Foods taking a colleague to get last minute supplies, and people were there. Yeah, they say it's not gonna be a big thing. I'm like, who said that? The Prime Minister. I'm like, oh, okay. And then they were picking up like ribs.
Yeah, I remember you told me. You called.
And not even frozen ribs, like
ready
to put on the grill ribs. And I think I called you from the line.
You called me, right?
Actually, and
I remember that.
I called you from the line, and I was like, Marvio, this is gonna be a disaster. And here we are.
But I do recommend that people also, because I know that not everybody's financial situation
for sure
is there where you can say you can stock up. One thing that I do and my family does is every time we can, we go every week or every other week and we buy some supplies. And so you might not be able to buy it all in bulk at one time, but make a priority list, say what do we need.
And check deals.
Check deals.
There's always deals on tuna, canned beans, pasta, rice, flour, etc. And that's usually when my sister and I will buy our hurricane supplies. When there is a sale or a deal going on, and then we just
take advantage of those and stock up piece by piece. It doesn't have to be a lot. A couple of canned goods here every other week that help you a lot.
Yeah, most definitely. Projects for Progress as well. The sign up form should be posted on the socials. There's been a coordination issue with me. Don't worry, it's my fault. But yes, that should be live. I think we'll just post it after this, and it should be live so that you can sign up with your interest in Projects for Progress. We have some projects that are going to be coming up to the pipeline that actually will have bearing on how you can improve your your resources, what you have at home in terms of growing your own food, but also some tips on how to maybe transition to solar if you can afford it. So that you can rely less on GB. Which
it would be nice if there was like some kind of social program for solar where people.
It would be. It would be. It would be. But Sol, if you're listening, since you're gonna generate electricity anyway, might as well. But yes, no, definitely. To just keep a lookout for that form, sign up, and keep in touch with what projects is going to be getting up to.
Let me answer Chasing Lux real quick. The policies in the schools for electronics. Actually, we have a pretty strict policy. We revisit it every week. It's actually managed through a multi-device management system, and we can essentially see everything that the students and teachers and anything are doing. And I can't give too much because then but basically we're all right. We're doing pretty good so far, and the training that the staff has received seems to have been helping, because I've seen a big difference between the amount of notifications I get from quarantine messages as opposed to this year. So it took a while, but like anything else, it takes time for people to understand the role that they play in these kind of things. Because I think a lot of times when people hear the word cybersecurity, they think it's something like the Matrix and something so far up, and it's high level.
But it's literally everything.
It's everything.
It's even what you click on.
Yeah, no, right actually, here. This is one of the biggest vulnerabilities out here. So
all those forwards, and I got that link about click here, free tickets from KLM, and I'm like, no, come on, guys.
And I think one of the things,
this is a Dutch company.
Eventually, I will be putting out something about Bible, how you call them, antiviruses for your phone, because a lot of people they think for their computer and so on, but there are antivirus. There is antivirus software for your phone that helps keep your phone clean. And also, we'll talk about a little bit more about Wi-Fi networks and why it's not nice for you to check your banking on free Wi-Fi.
Which I have seen. I've seen my colleagues do it, guys. Public Wi-Fi.
Yeah.
Schiphol, no less.
Oh God.
That's actually fascinating.
That's crazy.
But thank you for tuning in. And next stream, hurricane prep, and we'll see how Parliament went for the week. But tomorrow, 9 a.m. credentials meeting. So let's see how that goes. Yeah. Thanks for tuning in. Have a good rest of the Sunday. Till next time.
Adios.